or welcome. In this tutorial, we will be using tKinter to make a simple meter or indicator. For more tutorials like these, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now let's start. In order to be able to use tKinter and its submodules, the very first thing we have to do is we will begin by importing these modules. So we'll import tKinter STK and also import tKinter from tKinter import to tk. All right. So now that we've done that, now we can specify our application entry point and our event loop. Yes, so to do this, it's quite simple. This is how we do it. All right. Now that we are ready, so we have imported our modules, and we have also we have our event loop. So now we can go on to the fun stuff. So now we can create our meter class, all right, which will inherit from the ttk label. All right, and our first function is the init function, and we use this to initialize our class. So in our case, since the object we want to create, it's a meter, or the class that we're working with is a meter class. So what we want to initialize is basically we want to sort of like work with the properties that the meter might need. Like for instance, your meter will consist of like a background, and we know that the background must have like a specific color. In our case, it's going to be black. All right, and then we need to draw like this arc or this circular image. All right, so we'll need an image, and then we'll also need like these different colors, like our hollow color and then also our indicator color. I will also have like a text in between, which will also have a color for the text, which is going to be our foreground color. And of course, we need to also specify the size, right? So these are sort of like the properties that we'll initialize in our init function. Also something to note, so please note for the text, in order to help us to manage the meter values, so we will use the string variable and also the int variable, the integer variable. Okay. And also to display the meter, we'll of course use our pill module. Now to use this module, we will of course need to import it as well. So from pill import image, image tk image draw. So these are what we're going to use. All right. Yes. And now we can finally call the super function. All right. Yeah. Okay, so I think everything is in order. And now let's go on and pack our meter object. Of course, like everything so far, it's been very boring. So I think now we can finally work on the fun stuff, finally seeing what we are working with. Okay, so now we're going to work on our function, which is going to be the setup function. So in this function, we want to draw an image arc. So let's start by setting up our label. Okay, so we will use the TTK style in this case to set up our font and the label and the text color. So we can do this. So style, right, is TTK style, and then we'll configure our style. Okay, so we already did initialize these values. Okay, and then finally we can work on our background. All right. And now we can finally draw the arc and then display the image. Yeah. All right, so when we run this, what do we see now? Yes, of course, in order for us to be able to run this, we need to call this function from our init function. All right, so when we run this, what do we see? We see that there's this black background, and we also see that there's this arc, this hollow arc here. All right, I know I said it's going to be fun now, but it might not seem fun. But maybe just to put in some motion and stuff, what we'll need to do is now we'll need a way to control our meter. So to do that, we'll use a scale or a slider. Since we are dealing with the round meter, we'll start our slider or scale from 0 up to 360. I think that basically makes a circle. Yeah, and our variable already, we sort of already defined it, our arc variable. So now we'll just be modifying that. So let's go on to our event loop, and then we'll use the ttk scale. Okay, so root from to variable meter, and then we'll peg that. Okay, I know it's still yeah, there's still not much animation, but actually all we need to do now is that we can just update the text whenever we move the slider. Yeah, and to do that, we'll just use trace add as follows. Okay, so when we run this, what do you see? So as you can see now, it's quite cool. So whenever we move the slider, the label updates, which is quite good. Okay, it's quite good. Yeah, it's quite good. But still, maybe we would also want to put like an indicator. We want to also have like an indicator. So whenever the value changes, we also want the indicator to also change. I know that doesn't make sense what I'm saying. So let's go on and just work on it so that it makes sense. So we'll create another function in this case. So to update our arc, as well as use this function to update whenever we change the slider. So to do that, we'll define our function update arc variable. So for this function, we will have an angle defined, which is linked to our slider. So whenever this the slider we move the slider, it will sort of update this angle. Yeah. So meaning the indicator will also change, which is going to be the color. Okay, so we can go on and work on that, and then we can also draw our two arcs once again. So we're going to have our hollow one, and then we're going to have our indicator one, which is going to be red in this case. So whenever we move the slider to the right or to the left, it will basically change the indicator color. All right, so we can go on, of course, and draw the image updated. And in order for us to call this function, we can call it from our init function as follows: self.arg variable using trace add. I think my voice was changing there. Don't worry, this happens. It's normal. Just kidding. Anyway, and that is how you do it. So we have everything. So now when we run this, what we see, as you can see, now we have our meter, which is quite good. So we move the slider, it updates the label, and then it also updates the indicator. All right, so that's how you make a simple meter. Yes, so for more content like this, please be sure to subscribe, support the channel, if you know what I mean, and leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll be sure to do my best to respond to you. Anyways, till next time, noodles toodles.